Ladies and gentlemen, we are here to talk about Ahsoka, season one, the finale. This is a full spoiler discussion. As you guys know, I've not seen Rebels. I've not seen all of Clone Wars. I've only seen tidbits and seen most of all the movies. But Ahsoka was one that I was interested and peaked in by these two people that are also panelists on this one. And I appreciate them for both being here. And I'm going to introduce them now, Ronan and Aunt Go. What's going on, gentlemen?
Hey,
Hello. Oh, sorry, my bad. Wrong franchise.
it doesn't matter anymore.
so yeah, what's going on, gentlemen? The finale, it happened. It's already long past. I don't know how many times you guys have seen it. I've seen it now, like maybe two times. Um, I think my really,
Yep.
really.
Yep.
I've already kind of shown my small reaction to it, but I wanted to have you guys here to kind of go through all the small little tidbits that I didn't catch, that I didn't know, and I know everybody here watching wants to kind of know. But I mean, you guys can kind of give your brief overview on your thoughts on the finale for now, and then at the end of the discussion, we can talk about the series as a whole. Um, Me personally, I think this is a really strong finale. It piqued my interest. It gave me stuff that I was kind of like intrigued by. It leave me wanting to know more. And at the same that time, I'm excited to see what Dave Filoni has, not just for his movie, but where they're going to continue this progressive universe. Because from a galaxy standpoint, we're in uncharted territory, which I love that. I love the exploration of the unknown. So I really, really enjoyed this finale. But what were you guys' brief opinions about the finale and some of the things that you kind of like looking forward to? Aunt Go, I'll let you go first.
um, so there was things about the finale I really enjoyed, and there are things that were issues that I think just um, are telling of the Disney Star Wars era. So yeah, I mean, there's things that I liked. I think visually it was on point. Um, I've seen people complain about the action, but I mean, for the most part, I've enjoyed the action. I think that the setup's really nice. I've heard like criticisms that Rosario Dawson's been slow. I mean, I don't know what you want. Everybody's not a trained martial artist, and it's acting. Like so. To me, well, I'm not. We can get into that later, but like, there's things that go into a fight scene that is more than somebody spinning the blade or technique. It's the emotional stakes. Like, I'd rather you could have all the technique in your work in the world, but if it doesn't mean anything, it's just two people you know butting heads. But if you have an emotional stake in it or some kind of time reference or something like that, if there's more behind the fight, then it can be more. So like Jedi for Return of Jedi, for instance, pretty basic fight, but when Vader mentions his sister and he goes at it, you feel it. So I don't know, just a pass. So there's things I liked and there's things that I had issues with.
Okay, no, fair enough. What
Um.
about you?
Yeah. First of all, because I'm still writing notes on my own, like secretly, like just writing notes of what I thought and whatnot. And the only reason why I'm doing this is because Sam was asking me a lot of questions. Like, you know what? I'm still in supporting of the strikes, but my friend who I agreed to talk to about Ahsoka a year ago, I'm gonna help him out, and also I want to make sure I put him in the right direction because shit gets real when the stuff they teased, and Ant knows what I'm talking about. Um, as a finale, I really liked it. I did not love it. I felt that it was, as much as I love hinting at what's to come and a continuation, it didn't feel like it concluded, but didn't conclude in the execution wise, it didn't conclude 100% in my opinion. Um, where stuff landed at, where things ended at, I think is the right way it should have ended. It was just the execution, how they went about it, whatnot. You know, when we're almost done, I forgot. Oh yeah, Shin and Balin are in this episode, or I haven't seen them yet. When are they gonna pop up? And then it's almost like post credit scenes put together in that ending and whatnot. And this might be a nitpick and whatnot, but I felt that more so in this situation, not in the previous episodes, but when Hera and Ezra reunite, I feel like one or the other or both should have run to each other and hug it out. If you're trying to make people who haven't seen Rebels catch up, you need to execute in terms of why people have been saying we got to find this guy, we got to find this guy, we have to find them. You have to showcase how much this guy means to these people. And yes, Mary Elizabeth Winstead did an incredible job on her shot, showing how much she was choking up about, like, oh my gosh, he is alive. But for those who don't know, I have to, tell people nowadays, like, they're basically mother and son. She basically is his adoptive mother, and there's a whole series that showcases that. And then if you haven't seen it, how would you know about that? And so that was one thing that I guess bothered me. But again, I'm not losing sleep over it. I was, and I had the same issue with Sabine as well, where it's like, why the fuck are you guys, just vibing off? Like, if you haven't seen each other for a month, you haven't seen each other in a decade, hug it out, fucking cry your eyes out. I was crying. But yeah, and Thrawn, I love how much I'm getting what I wanted to see him in a live action, and how much they're showcasing to the best of their abilities. To people who don't know him, he's this dangerous and precise, and I love that he showcased something that I haven't seen in him in a while, which is almost, I'm gonna say desperation, but almost like having to alternate his thought process, because he realized who is coming after him and who trained the person that's coming after him. So he knows how formidable Ahsoka can be. And yeah, I really dug the finale. I did not love it. I think my second time I dug it more better, but there is a lot to discuss about this.
Yeah. I did have a question for both of you guys, because I think it's hard for me to kind of gauge, because I don't have any stake in any of it. Like, I don't have anything to desire for. Like, some of the things you were talking about, like with Hera and Ezra, like the whole entire time, like I felt like Hera and Sabine this whole entire season have been crippled because of Ezra. Like, all their actions have been based on unsound thought processes, because they're trying to do things outside of scope just for this man. Like, technically Sabine cast out what she's proposed to do with Ahsoka to turn to somebody that obviously is not a Jedi to just get to Ezra. And then even with Hera, she broke code, lied about it, and was willing to do whatever just for Ezra. So for me, I've seen threads this whole entire series.
I think that's because you don't know. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You finish.
Right.
Sorry.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't have any stake in any of these characters. Right. I'm getting what I'm seeing here and now. So for me, they don't need to do those things, because I never had that posed to me. Now, will it once I go back and watch, will I get more added to it? Yeah, I think so. But I don't need those atmospheric moments. And that's why I was going to pose a question like this is, do you think if you guys had no inclination of who any of these characters were, and kind of put yourself in my shoes, do you think it would be more digestible, or you wouldn't have any trepidations on some of the things that you kind of expected or wanted? It's hard to kind of gauge, because I know that there's lore there, there's backdrops,
history.
We're gonna get to the history aspect of it, but I'm just talking about in the context of where these characters are now.
So
it's kind of hard.
I don't think the emotional beats work at all the way they presented them here, but also if you don't know the history of these characters. And I think that a big struggle for me is that they've soft retconned some things of these characters. Like Ezra was saying, you're like a sister to me, has never been. Ezra's always had a crush on Sabine. You could argue she didn't have it back, but
so that was the weird thing. I was going to say that. I was going to actually say the first episode, it kind of seemed like she was in love with this guy. If you look at the first episode, I was kind of like, oh man, like she lost her long lost love. That's kind of how I felt the first episode.
You could question if they're just family, but like, I mean, you could say they're family, but also like Ezra's always had a crush on Sabine.
I'll admit this: the first 2 seasons of Rebels, he had a crush on her. And then once he realized, that's at least I've always taken it that the first 2 seasons.
Once he realized what? Once he realized
that like that wasn't going nowhere, and that his focus should be more on like Lothal instead of his dick. That like
I
it was
think
like
that's headcanon. I think that's headcanon. But we can
I
disagree.
guess
We agree to disagree. We agree to disagree.
I guess so, just because
So
to me the way Rebels concluded, it felt like it wasn't like love lost. It felt like good family saying goodbye to each other, potentially saying goodbye to each other. And what's weird is that's interesting that you say that, because to me I felt that this show, as much as I love it, it's been more aimed at people who weren't Rebels fan, and trying to catch them up is more
so
because
so let me finish.
yeah.
So they soft retcon some things. Like Ezra didn't leave his lightsaber to Sabine. He gave it to Chopper. like there's things that they soft retcon, and if you don't know these beats of these characters, I'd be very confused about these relationships, because the way they acted things, Sabine looks longingly at Ahsoka a lot of times. And Hera is the mother figure of the Ghost crew, and the fact that it made no sense for Ezra to fly an Imperial ship into Rebel lines, into a Rebel ship with a Stormtrooper outfit on in the first place. That's a harken back to how Ezra in the show would
Yes.
always wear steel helmets. Like he was like Marv with the coats. That's a mighty fine coat you got there. Ezra was like, that's a mighty fine helmet you got there. I'm gonna get me one of them. That's how Ezra was. So if you were a fan of Rebels, you're like, oh, that's a callback. That's what Ezra. Of course, a fan of Rebels even know what he's gonna take that Stormtrooper. You knew as soon as that Stormtrooper was gone, he was like, he's gonna take that helmet. But if you
that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know Ezra, so when he did it, I was like, oh, this is interesting. Like,
now
this it makes sense because he's stealing a ship and he doesn't want to get caught. So that makes
sense. But that's fine. But it's a callback to us while he would still have it on.
Right.
But he wouldn't. It doesn't make any sense if you're just watching this. And there's a lot of things that didn't make logical sense. And especially this last episode didn't make logical sense. Things Thrawn did. I know you said you like Thrawn. I think the actor's fine. I think the way they have written him though, he's failed almost everything in this season. And
I actually disagree with that, but
so there's a thing about writing intelligence. You can write intelligence like No Country for Old Men. When Sugar goes to the other room, checks it out, goes in, he does something smart to go in the thing. Or you can do the magic thing of, yes, I threw a pencil in the room and and the temperature was 96 degrees and then it worked out the way it planned. Acceptable losses. None of anything he did needed to happen. And technically, the only reason he made it back to the regular universe is because the heroes decided to let that happen. None of the plans really worked out. And he didn't use his resource. It was really, this reminded me a lot of Tyrion in the last couple of seasons of Game of Thrones. It takes a special kind of, I'm not saying they're not creative. I'm not saying they're dumb. I'm just saying it takes a special kind of writer to make highly intelligent characters, especially tacticians, make sense. And so they need to bring somebody in to do that.
Let's actually go there real quick, because I actually really, and again, y'all have been talking up Thrawn. I have not known a hill of beans about this man, right?
The characters talked him up. Thrawn can't come back. He can't come back. If he comes back, we're all great.
Hold on. So for me, I had nothing. What I get from Thrawn is from this series, right? So I'm just going to take the last 3 episodes. From the moment that he sent out Baylan and Shin, he already was having an end game. His end game was minimize the amount of loss of the people that I actually need, because I've been going through this for years. Yeah. And I'm getting off planet. I don't care about sacrificing these witches. I don't care about sacrificing this witch that got me here. I think the one wrinkle that I got in this episode specifically was the understanding that Anakin was Ahsoka's apprentice.
Yes.
And that threw him a little bit.
Yes.
But it also made him reassure, like, oh, I'm going to make sure I have as many roadblocks as possible. She's going to get here no matter what. But I'm going to give myself enough alleviated time that no matter what she does, I'm going to get out.
But it was unnecessary.
But no, hear me. What I'm saying is that from a tactical standpoint, he's doing this incrementally. He's not sacrificing everything. He's not sacrificing things that's going to hurt him. Like, he didn't take severe losses. He only expanded stuff that he couldn't care less about. And again, that to me is actually really dope, because it makes me think like, man, when and if he gets back, when he gets connected with characters like this, like it's just going to be fascinating to me because I'm actually excited for somebody that actually processes and thinks as opposed to just being reactionary. Most of the times when it comes to Star Wars universe, like one of the things I did love about the original series is just seeing my man Darth Vader work. My man was cornering people in Empire Strikes Back. Like he put people in bad situations left and right. They could not get ahead. And that is what I'm seeing from this character a lot in just this series on. So for me, the last 3 episodes have been about he's got one specific plan, and it was to sacrifice different pawns and places to get off. All he cared about was trying to get off. And even in this episode, these small little roadblocks that he was just adding in, sacrificing small little things, it was all for the bigger picture. So for me, I felt like, no, I don't think he felt at all. I feel like he absolutely got exactly what he wanted. Now, my whole thing is, and that's why I don't have any stake in this, is when he does get back to the baseline galaxy, what does he do from there? Now, that to me is that is the hole. That to me is the huge hole. Like once you're out, okay, cool. Everybody knows you're there, but you got a target on your back. Like that's a whole Death Destroyer. Like, why is everybody not going to attack him dead on? Who outside resource do you have? Because you killed the one witch that had that outside. Now that is the one hole. But getting out, I think that he succeeded. I think he did a great job with it.
And the way he did you think he did a great job?
Yeah. Like where did he fail?
All right. So let's start at the beginning. He doesn't come back unless Sabine decides to let him come back, right?
What do you mean? Elaborate.
Unless Sabine doesn't destroy the map, that plan to bring him back fails, right?
So no. They already copied the map.
No. Remember? She had the blaster and Balin was like, no, we need that, like da-da-da-da. Mm-hmm. So first of all, his plan didn't work unless Sabine lets it work.
But he never. If that's the whole point. Like the whole point with this whole entire time, he's waiting for somebody to get to him.
Right. That plan fails if Sabine shoots the orb. Right.
But no, the plan doesn't start until until somebody actually gets to him. Nothing.
The plan was they sent the message. They used the witches to send the message to coax somebody to bring him back. Right. Yeah,
they've been trying to.
So they planned it. It fails if Sabine shoots the orb. Right.
It changes. I don't think
how do they get to the well? All right. That plan fails if Sabine doesn't shoots the orb. Okay. All right. So you go there. Sabine gets on the ship. Sabine, Thrawn goes, oh yeah, all right. Well, give her weapons and a beast and go find Ezra, and then we'll send people after him. Why? Ezra isn't keeping tabs on you. Ezra doesn't know what you're doing. You could take that time to keep loading up your ships. Shoot Sabine in the head. Ezra doesn't have a lightsaber. Nobody knows. You don't even know. You don't even know that Ahsoka's on his way. So there's no reason to bring Ezra into this. Ezra don't know what's going on. Shoots Sabine in the head. Oh no, we're gonna give her weapons and send her out. Then you send the 2 Force users after him. That's fine. Why are you sending a small battalion after them too? It doesn't make sense.
You care less whether or not they die or not.
But you wasted resources for saying you didn't have the resources to waste, and you're going back to fight a war. But right? So you don't sacrifice
about those resources.
He didn't say to care less. He said he needed those resources. He said he needed those resources, but he wanted to get home. He created the problem of Ahsoka. He created the problem of Ahsoka and Sabine and Ezra attacking him at the end of the show. If he didn't do these things, he could have loaded up his ship and left. The troops he used to go hunt down Ezra and Sabine, he could have used to help load up the ship faster and leave. There was no point. And if Sabine doesn't choose to come back, if Ezra and Sabine doesn't choose to come back, then you have Ezra and Sabine on your ship too. Everything he did pretty much failed, but he lucked out and got home. He lucked out.
But
so hold on. So Thrawn is a character that can look at your art and go, this is how you like. If Thrawn saw Sabine's art, classic Thrawn saw Sabine's art, she's like, oh, she thinks like that. Her tactic was this. She responds to this. I can tell it by this. That's a way to tell. He lucked out into this, and if he's worried about Anakin's apprentice, what are you gonna do about Luke?
I wanted to say that's what I find unique that people might see as a plot hole is that to me what I found 2 sequences where he found an alternative to think, which is when he realized that Sabine was willing to risk the galaxy just to find Ezra again.
Right.
And he was like, okay, I'll instead of killing her, I'll let her go and keep her in the mindset of personal attachment. Keep her thinking about that while
What
I
did he
get the
gain
fuck
by
out of
letting
here.
her go?
He got the
drew
danger
Ezra
that
out
he got the danger that was in front of him
because Ezra
out of
hasn't
the
been
way.
caught this whole entire time, right?
Yes.
No, Ezra says he doesn't mess with them. Ezra
No, no,
said,
no,
"I
no,
don't
no,
go
but
there. I
no, I'm
don't
saying
go there because of the witches." Right?
right. So he drew him out, right?
For
Yes,
what purpose? If
I
his
mean, he
purpose
could have
is to
killed him.
leave,
He could have killed him, or
he
even worse,
his focus was to
distraction.
put as much distance between them
Right.
and there. And
but he
if
didn't.
he if he, well, it changed because he
He
realized
didn't.
he realized that Ahsoka was coming on the way, and for him was that he wanted to put much distance between them,
Mhm.
and whether they died or got stranded, it didn't matter to him. That as long as those
Right.
two, again, he considers them as kids. As long as he
No,
keeps
he
them,
doesn't because they beat him last time.
well, they beat him the last time, but this time he has nice sisters. He's found an alternative way to
Look,
combat that.
look. What happens if he shoots at Sabine in the head? On a ship, prisoner shoots her in the head. What happens?
Ahsoka's still coming because he's trying to track
Didn't know
down
that at the
what
time,
he's doing.
right?
It doesn't
Ezra
matter,
doesn't know.
but no. You're talking about failure, right? So no matter
Right.
what, even if he shot Sabine, Ahsoka would still be coming. It'd be coming directly for him, not to try to
Ahsoka
look
dies.
how.
Ahsoka dies, right? Because in the final assault, the only reason Ahsoka lived is because Sabine came back. Only reason Ezra knew what was going on because Sabine found Ezra. Only reason
But I'm saying that
Ahsoka found Ezra is because she had a connection with Sabine.
right. What I'm saying is that
She didn't gain anything.
the first place that happened is Ahsoka got directly attacked by Thrawn, right? So that
That's
means
another
that,
plan that failed. He
right.
said, "We know exactly what route they're coming from. Instead of just sending a bunch of TIE fighters against one ship or something, we're going to mine it. We're going to mine space.
Yeah,
We're going to mine
he
all of
didn't waste any TIE
space."
fighters at all.
It's a dumb plan.
But he didn't
Then he
waste any
said, "We're going to
lasers.
use
That's
our
what I'm
Night
saying.
Sisters to locate her." That's another plan that failed.
What's weird is that, like, I understand where Ant's coming from, but what I recall from Rebels and reading some of the books is that even in the heydays of the Empire, Thrawn would do moves like this that people would be like, "What the hell are you doing? Why don't we do Swifts?" And he's playing the long game. He's not playing the short game.
Yes,
And
and I agree with that. But there
and
was always something that was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I interrupted people. I'm sorry. Go ahead."
that's okay. I get what you're saying, but I feel he's playing the long game of certainty to be like, okay, if I
Mhm.
kill this girl just now, I'm still having to deal with stuff coming along the way, and God knows what else is coming my way. So he saw that moment of like, okay, whether she's alive or not, the thing that I need on my side is not the soldiers. One, I need time. So as long as I can get through this and get the fuck out of here, I don't care what I'm doing.
Mhm.
And what I liked that the
So-
show presented, and again, it's a fair criticism, was that it wasn't until he realized that A, Balin went AWOL, and B, that the person who was still coming down to follow him was someone related to someone in the past of his past that he found formidable. So I get where Aaron's coming from. I don't see it that way, but it is a plausible thing to critique. But what I like about it is that even even with him doing those choices, he always had the nice sisters up his sleeve, which people could say it's a cop out and whatnot, but as far as I know, Thrawn was never one to mess with stuff that's out of the physical realm out of it. So he found this wild card and was like, all right, I want to try this because last time someone threw a wild card at me, I got fucking stuck in space by fucking whales.
So really quick, just so we don't harp it on this for an hour.
Okay.
Real side journey.
But I
Balin.
get it.
Can somebody tell me where Balin is going and where did he
Oh,
beat? What was
holy shit.
what was behind him that was like a beacon of light?
Holy shit.
I want to know because the moment that he had a fight one with Ahsoka,
Yes.
and then he kind of still was left to his devices to go. I was like, where is he going? Why would he forsake his, apprentice? Now I get why he made that decision, but I was like, what is his end game? And I'm curious because I don't know enough. And I want you guys to shed light onto what the heck is happening here.
Let me ask you a question, Sam. Have you ever heard of the Mortis gods?
I've been hearing a lot of it recently.
And do you want to do it? Do you want me to do it?
I mean, we can share. You want to talk about? You want to talk about Clone Wars?
So okay, so I'll start off and you can chime in. So in the Clone Wars, I think midway through the show, George Lucas and his team and Dave wanted to make a big ass swing with the mythology of Star Wars.
Okay.
And in one mission, which is a three-parter, he sent Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, and Anakin to this mystical place in space that took him to like almost another realm. One could argue another galaxy. And this place was almost like Rivendell of Lord of the Rings. It was this very beautiful mystical place, but what they encountered was that there was the individuals or beings that were called the Father, the Son, and the Daughter. And what they realized during this time is that they were the actual essence of the Force. That the Father represented the balance, the Son represented the dark side, and the Daughter represented the light side. And in that, and the goal of that was that, like in this arc, that the Father wanted Anakin because the Anakin was the chosen one, and he wanted to see for himself. Okay, he's the chosen one. Let me take a look. He realized, oh shit, he is the chosen one, and he
And so
wanted
that was
Anakin to take his place as the
yeah.
Father.
So that was with the part of the one prophecy, right? That
Yes.
Anakin is the chosen one. And so they're incredibly powerful beings. That they're shape
Yes.
shifting, they're using telekinesis on a whole nother level, they're doing a whole bunch of stuff that's out the way. The son possesses Ahsoka at one point, and attacks Anakin because he's jealous. The sister's there, the father. It's really also connects to an EU character
Yes.
from before the Clone Wars called
I
Abzola
believe so.
escape,
Yeah. I
something
can't
like that.
pronounce the
It's like
name right.
AB something.
Yes.
Extremely powerful being that Luke defeats, who's
Yes.
apparently the mother of these,
Yes.
and who represents chaos in the universe or force or whatever. And Luke beats her because Luke in the books is the man. Like Luke,
Yeah.
Luke is like the personification of what the chosen one could have been. So in the Clone Wars episode, there's a part where Anakin, even though these beings are extremely powerful, Anakin's able to control them because he is the one.
Yeah.
The son ends up accidentally killing his sister, which they kind of hint might be why the dark side like flew out of balance and the Jedi were blinded.
Yes.
That's what they kept talking about. You know, the dark side clouds everything. We're blinded. So they were trying to explain that because they've never really come out and said what was going on. After that, the son flies off, I believe.
I think so. Yeah.
And the father like laments about what's going to happen now in the universe,
Yes.
and they all wake up in their ship. And
Before
since then,
before that though, at one point, two big things happen, Sam. At one point, they show Anakin what's gonna happen to you. So there's a cool
yeah.
image where he literally like screeches out in pain, and you see that in his mind he's seeing he becomes Darth Vader. They have this big ass shot of him as the helmet, and you hear. So he knows at one point in his life he realized he was going to become Darth Vader, but they wiped his memory.
Oh,
And
right. Yeah.
And Ahsoka died in that arc, dude. She died. And the reason why she's still with us today is because the daughter sacrificed herself and gave her essence to Ahsoka. And that's why every once in a while in Rebels and Clone Wars and even now in the shows, you see this little pigeon, this little owl, white owl
Yeah,
screeching.
I saw it in this episode.
That is what a lot. It's never been officially confirmed, but people are hinting that it's. Well, I mean, it is confirmed. The owl's name is Morai, and that's the newest version of the daughter that still flies. Almost like how Odin has his two owls watching all of the nine realms. This is how the daughter is traveling through the galaxy and whatnot. It is trippy
So
as fuck. It
So
is mythology, dude. It is
and it's been
bonkers.
following Ahsoka. When Ahsoka was supposed to die during the Vader fight, when she left, the owl was there.
The owl was there.
So there's this big build up, and it's this fan theory that Dave Filoni is going to make Ahsoka the new goddess of the light, which
The light side.
I wouldn't like, but
I would like. I mean, if you look at a little bit of what she went through in this series, Sam, she was all gray and jaded and didn't think.
it was like a rebirth
Yes,
for
and
like
you
that
look at it.
specific episode felt like. I mean, matter of fact, in my honest opinion, like, and I give credit to Rosario Dawson for that. Like most of the beginning of the season, like she's just been really jaded. Like she just had no personality. She was just, I don't know, like she was just emotionless. Like there was no joy. There was no. She seemed like she was off balance. That's the best way I can kind of put it. After that, her personality started to come out, and again, I don't have any point of reference, but she was much more endearing. She was much more wise. She was much more patient. I don't know. She was in balance after that episode, as far as my perception of it. But my question to you guys are going all over the place with this. So you're saying that, and this is, I guess, help everybody else that's wanted to know this. So you're saying that the father is an embodiment of Anakin.
Balance.
Yes. Balance, okay. Not a Anakin.
Balance, not Anakin.
Okay, so what balance? So Anakin represents balance.
Yes, he wanted Anakin to take his spot because he had been here for a while.
Could have represented balance, but Anakin, as the one, had ultimate power over all of them.
Yes.
So even though he couldn't do what they could do, when he realized that he accepted his place as the one, or his role as the one, he stopped the son. Like he realized he could manipulate the Force. Like he's Neo in the Force, pretty much.
So are these beings alive? Or are these beings?
Well, so the daughter might be alive through the owl that's following Ahsoka around. The father's still alive, and the son is still alive. And if you notice in the ruins, I think the son's image was destroyed.
No, the daughter's.
Was it the daughter? Oh, that ruins my theory. I thought it was the son's image, because if it was the son's image, the son might have destroyed himself for hating himself for what he did to the daughter. But the cool thing about this is that the son represents some of the best things about the dark side. Like he's powerful, but he's also passionate. He's impulsive. He wants what he wants, and then he regrets later, like what happened to his sister, things like that. So I guess the daughter, I guess the daughter statue being torn down is just that she's dead, but or transition.
So these are actual living beings.
They're concepts.
Yes.
The only reason why I asked that, because I was like, okay, so does that mean that Anakin's gonna embody the father in some way, shape, or form moving forward as the Force goes?
That might be his happy ending, that he takes the place of the father. Ahsoka takes the place of the daughter,
and Baylan takes the role of the son.
So, I mean,
because he's greedy right now, he wants his ultra power. He's willing to abandon Thrawn, his own Padawan, saying you're too.
I don't
pissy.
see this greed. I don't see this greed. He just wants something different. He's traumatized.
So,
but put it this way, Sam. Put it this way: the fact that they show statues carved in mountains was a big thing, because they don't really. That's not a real. They're not physical things and whatnot. These are very like tall tales that like a lot of people don't know about it. It's a deep thing that like, that, you know, you have to go. Even I would doubt the only person that would know is about Huyang, but even I don't even know if he knows about this. So the fact that there was actual carvings in this place in another galaxy, and the fact that Baylan saw something sparking out in the far distance is a hint to that. Okay, maybe not the son that Baylan is trying to is being called to, but probably the mother, which is another being in this family that, from what I know, I don't too much, but she was almost cast out. She was because she had been too powerful, and you know, she was cast out, and that's where the son draws his vibe, and the daughter draws her vibe more from her father. So this is fucking bonkers, dude.
So you're right, it is her image that's knocked out.
So the thing is, like with the Acolyte, does anybody know when Acolyte takes place?
100 years before Phantom Menace.
Okay. The only reason why I was wondering, because that may give some kind of explanation of the son.
I would bet money on Vegas that either subtly or deliberately these gods get referenced in The Acolyte or in James Mangold's film, which is 1,000 years that talks about the birth of the Jedi.
And I've seen rumors that they're thinking about this will be the birthplace of the Force, or I don't know, like the Force being a birthplace part, but I mean, I definitely could take where this is a religion. The way they had it in Clone Wars was almost in the psychic plane of type. Yes. It was in the ether. Like this wasn't a physical place. It was a embodiment of concepts and things like that. So I don't know if I'll feel if I guess whatever character just walks in and the father's just chilling on this planet. Like I don't know how I'll feel about that. But can we all just I know people have said it online a lot, but Ray Stevenson killed this. He was the most interesting character in this show, and he brought such.
Damn tragedy.
It is because like I would have followed this character in a spinoff. You know what I mean? I know everybody's going about Hadi Shin,
Shinhati.
Shin Hadi. They knew what they were doing with their name. Shin Hadi.
She is Hadi. Yeah.
Yeah. They're going about that. You know, I character wise, I get why people like her. I'm not knocking it. But he and her were the draw together. Like I was much more interested in her, and I hope she brings something to it. Season 2. I'm not going to take it away from her, but I found them more compelling than I found Sabine and Ahsoka throughout most of the series.
So, do you not think that they're going to continue both of these storylines in the second season, and they're going to have to recast?
It's going to be really hard to recast him.
I know that, but I'm saying that the route that they're going and what you guys are explaining and surrounding this is again, you still haven't explained to me what the light was behind it. What was the beacon?
So the light,
it could be. I don't know.
The lights behind. What do you mean? What do you mean behind?
You remember behind him, right? When he was looking in the distance, there was a beacon of light behind him. Straight up, like I mean, let me try to see if I can.
I thought he was looking at a beacon.
I thought he was looking at it.
No. Hold on,
that doesn't make sense then.
Because that image that he was looking at it is almost a shot out of a Clone Wars episode.
Yeah. So,
I mean, say this, Sam, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. This was almost a backup idea of something they would tackle. And I'm still even hesitant to tell you, Sam, but there's a reason why Thrawn joined the Empire. It wasn't because he thought they were cool and whatnot, or because he believes in the fascist way and whatnot. Thrawn is scared of something. He's scared of something.
So one of the things that the EU got really cool, the EU did really well was, so Disney era Star Wars has an issue with villains. Like they just don't have the compelling villains to bring new villains out. I mean, Gideon, he worked for a little bit, but I think his ultimate plan of the clone body thing was kind of,
like what they did with Maul.
Maul was great, but we're talking about just Disney era, like going forward. But what the EU did was, and even remember, even in the High Republic, they were trying to think of a new bad guy, and they were talking about like space Vikings
pirates,
or something. Yeah, all that's dumb. what the EU did was they were like, the Emperor didn't build a Death Star to control their galaxy, like the galaxy we know. They had starships for that. They had Star Destroyers for that. He built a super weapon to stop what was coming. Thrawn joined the Empire to stop what was coming, and that was the Yuuzhan Vong. I might be mispronouncing the name.
Yes.
And these like crazy
orcs.
They're like space orc lizard guys who also had these things that were Thrawn had discovered this species of salamander that like blocked the Force, and so at one point there's a cool line where Luke loses his power because of this, and he's getting hunted. And Lando's like, he's still a Jedi without his powers. But anyway, it was so tactical. I also thought Shin Hati was going to be this version of a character called, I also didn't like this in the book, but it was a clone of Luke called Luke or something that was cloned from his hand.
Yeah, I've heard that weird
and so
shit.
I thought Shin Hati was going to be that clone. But there's this outside force and this invasion happens, and it's a big chunk of the EU books. There's a lot of cool moments. There's a lot of like, did Chewie die during that?
All I know is that in the EU, someone threw a moon at him, and that's how he died in the EU.
Yeah, but I can't remember if that was during that. Yeah, I can't remember if that was what happened, but like Chewbacca's like roaring at the moon as it crashes down. Like it's like Thanos. It's crazy. Yeah, there's this part where like they think they're done, and it's just Luke, and Luke just goes like he melds with the Force, and he's 1,000 lightsabers, like the way his hands are moving, like. It's just a cool concept. Jason Solo, Jaina Solo, like and Anakin Solo have their moments throughout this thing, and I'm reminiscing. The EU had some bad stories too at times, right? But the overall plot and some of these characters, they just stay. I would love to see that action.
From what I'm gathering of what I've seen and what they told us at Celebration is that Filoni is deeply looking at the Heir to the Empire trilogy, and he's looking at the EU, which is why it's mind-bending to me that he would show the Mortis gods, because Ant and I know what the deal is with this, but Sam doesn't know what the deal is. and then you're gonna bring in possibly the Yuzhan Vong later, which is a whole nother thing that yeah, man. Like I'll put it to you this way, Sam. In the new version of the EU, the Palpatine he's full of himself. He built a Death Star for this galaxy, the one that we've grown up with. That no, I want to destroy planets like that to show him who's got the big stick. And at one point in the new novels in the comic book that I have right now, Thrawn finds out about the Death Star. Again, it's a secret project. Nobody knows about it. And he confronts Palpatine. He's like, I want you to tell me about the Death Star. And he's like, how the fuck do you know about that? He's like, I know because I'm me. You got to work on bettering your security. Tell me about the Death Star. And he's like, are you worried that I'm going to kill your people? And he says, should I be? And he's like, trust me, I won't kill the Chiss. I won't kill them. And the whole time, the reason why he confronted him about that, because A, he thought that, and B, he's fearful that these space orcs are going to come and invade the galaxy he's in right now, and he's put himself in the Empire to find resources that could combat that.
And he doesn't think they can win. He doesn't think their universe can win the way it is right now. So you have Thrawn, who's a really intelligent character, brilliant tactician, rarely loses, going, we can't win this fight. Yeah, and that's one reason he doesn't join the Empire. It's also weird in this show because like Thrawn didn't join the Empire because he loves the Empire. Like, long live the Empire. He joined the Empire because it was a useful tool to stop what was coming. And the EU did a really good job of building this up. I'm excited because I don't see how you keep Luke out of a conflict like this. And so I'd love, and this is, I need Luke in this. I've heard theories that they think that Ahsoka and Sabine are going to start another Jedi Order in this side of the galaxy, or something like that. That way is one. There's a lot of good things that can happen. I don't get how you're excited, Sam. Like
yeah. So I can break down why I'm excited, but real quick. So that's
the one.
This is what I'm talking about. So at this point, they've already gone. And the ship is already left. Okay. So he's looking at the distance and he sees this and it looks like a beacon.
Yes.
And I don't know what this is. That's why I was asking you guys, what the heck is this?
I was planning on rewatching the Mortis trilogy, the 3 episodes tonight, but I seen people screenshot and frame from that arc. There's a shot that literally looks like that of the father looking up into this mountain and this big flare out in the mountain. And a lot of people making connection. That's his wife. That his wife that was cast out. That's her just lighting up. She can't get out, but she's been light up, and somehow she reached Balin, and he thinks he's gonna fight this great, powerful thing that he's gonna be able to, control and whatnot. But he's being lured.
Reference the mother at any time
in Ahsoka? No,
I felt like it was something that was said. I can't remember what it was.
He just said that something was out there. He didn't really like something's calling me out there, and it's kind of like he's like, all this stuff doesn't matter anymore. There's something higher out there, and I think it would make sense because the mother could be for a big chunk of one of the books. The mother was the threat. Right, you got this crazy, powerful force god going around.
Right, that's what everybody's been saying, is that the mother is the imminent threat. That's what everybody on the internet has been saying. So I don't even know what y'all talking about. So this is helping me get understanding. And again, I'm gonna let you talk, but all this is exciting to me. I've been digesting just the normal baseline stuff. So I'm getting a very interesting approach to how characters like Balin, characters like Ahsoka, plucked from different sides of the Force, but at the same time dealing with an actual struggle and also having their own apprentice and seeing kind of what that looks like from that dynamic is fascinating to me. Adding a new character like Thrawn, even though it's not as good as what y'all perceive him to be from the past, for me, I'm very intrigued to see where this is going to actually go. And also, it's just thrilling to see post the OP, the original series, to see where this is actually going to go. All this is very exciting to me. And also, in my opinion, I don't know who has a problem with the lightsaber fights. I think they've been dope. I think they've actually been really well shot. I think they've been very exciting. Like, I think it's crazy that they sat there and killed off these stormtroopers and brought them back with witches. This is crazy to me. And again, I've not seen Rebels. I've not seen Clone Wars. For me, this is all so dope, and it makes me want to go back and watch even more. But even if I went back and watched more, it's still not going to negate what I feel right now. So all this is exciting to me. So to answer your question, but go ahead, continue.
What if the mother is the light, and this is the planet where the witches came from apparently? So what if she influenced the Dathomir witches culture and the magic and everything like that? So you had the Jedi, which you could say is either the daughter or the father. I would probably say the father more than the daughter. And then you have the son, probably the Sith, and then you have the witches that could be the mom, or it could be the daughter too. You know, I'm not saying, because we all know that not all the witches are, you know, raising the dead and doing all that crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But that could be a really cool thing, the birthplace of lore to go to the Force. So maybe it's not the birthplace of the Force, but maybe it's the birthplace of this Dathomir chaotic chaos magic type stuff going on.
That's what I think that's why I think Sam is excited about this without the context, is that this is it's not another fucking Death Star. It's not another Star Killer base.
Yeah.
It's not another Emperor going, no. It's not that.
Right.
The fact that it's an alien dude in uniform, being tactical, not being irrational and emotional, but being very tactical. Some people may not think
without force powers. Force powers.
Right. That's so exciting to me. Like, I mean, not to say he's like Lex Luthor, but kind of. Like, I actually
I would even say yes, because he's more Moriarty.
You know, when I played Battlefront back in the day, the original Battlefront games, I used to love just being a regular stormtrooper and hunting down Jedi players online. Just because, you know, if I mess up the kill, they're gonna kill me. So you gotta plant bombs, explosives, snipe them, whatever. And I think that what Disney wanted to do was they wanted to get away from the heroes to go to a new era. That's not what you do. You move eras by threats, and so instead of going back to the same threats and trying to, you know, change the heroes, you change the new threat, like the Yuuzhan Vong, these Force gods. How do you deal with the Force god? You know, Luke might be all right, but the rest of us are screwed. You know, like what's after this? And you know, I think if they finally got that, they finally understood that, then that could be really interesting. I hate the whole sequel, First Order stuff, because it doesn't make sense. But I'm pretty sure Thrawn's going to be instrumental in starting the First Order. Like, and how does he do that? Because that's going to be,
I'm excited for that.
He's going to lose, but his contingencies are going to start this next wave of whatever.
So, Ant, I'll say this, and Sam, I might be reading a little bit too much, but it won't take away from you watching Clone Wars or Rebels. Two things: A, he the minute he realized that Anakin Skywalker trained Ahsoka, that was a big deal that I was hoping they would touch on. Again, I had not seen it. I had only heard these rumors, but I knew that at one point before he joined the Empire, Thrawn bumped into Anakin in Batu, in the far distant unknown regions and whatnot, and he helped them find Padme at one point. So he knew he was this good and he was this rational guy. And then once he joined the Empire, he lamented and mourned the fact that, like, oh, there was this guy, General Skywalker. He was a good dude. He was a good man. And at one point, the Emperor introduces, Vader, meet Thrawn, our new Grand Admiral. Thrawn looks at him for a few seconds, and he's like, huh. And then after seeing him fly a TIE fighter, he's like, motherfucker, that's Anakin Skywalker. One of the few people that quickly realized that Darth Vader was Anakin Skywalker.
But doesn't say anything because Vader kills people if you know.
Exactly.
so,
yeah, I've seen some comic books. He killed
so it's kind of weird that Disney has done a bunch of stuff of like people knowing who Vader is. I mean, like, because people didn't know who Vader was.
Which is why I love the line where he tells Ahsoka, I wonder how similar you would become to your master, because he knows he went dark. So I'm like, I'm wondering if you're going to become as dark as he was. And the intriguing thing about them, because I know and she was like, don't bring up the sequels. You don't have to connect it, why not? I don't think they have to connect it. And I still don't think the sequels will be something to digest easy in time. I hope they figure out a way. But I feel what they're doing with these shows and this, this mini universe that they've been developing is that they're going to tell their big story, and the politics sides of it are going to justify why the New Republic slips up again, and why people, while remnants of the Empire, will come back, because
I don't think they have the chops to do that. I'm sorry.
I don't know either, but I'm willing to see that happen, just because in Mando, they bring up the fact that like, where's Thrawn at? He's, you guys keep saying he's gonna come back and whatnot. And at one point, Moff Gideon says we should move on into other stuff instead of just waiting for the blue guy to come back. And someone says that's why Project Necromancer exists. That's an alternative. If Thrawn doesn't come back, we go the Necromancer side. So I feel that once Thrawn gets more stuff in Dathomir and whatnot, that there'll be people within the Imperial remnants that are not going to agree with him. Because again, if they follow through what they've been teasing, which is different than just the good guys and bad guys, Thrawn is concerned about the Yuzon Vong, about the threats that no one knows about, but he does because he's from far out, what the general people know. And some people will be like, we don't care about that. We just want to get back in the play. We want the big stick again. And I'm going to call this out right now. I would not be surprised eventually he does something that Maul did once. And you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if Thrawn at one point says, you know what? We should not be fighting each other. Hera, Sabine, Ahsoka, we should team up.
So that's what I was about to get into, is that what you guys are talking about is this is more interesting to me than when Luke even joins up to the mix, because I want to see the in-between threads. I want to see the things that I've not seen. And even the thing that I was going to bring up, and I mean, I know it's not consequential to most other people, but I'm very intrigued by other galaxies. The fact that they're stuck in a whole other galaxy that I don't know what the actual imminent threats are, have any understanding about, like, you guys may have trepidation about them being stuck in the galaxy, and then it's like, okay, you got two different things going on, just branch off another spinoff series or something like that. But for me, being in a new galaxy is exciting. But I wanted y'all's take on, one, what galaxy are they in? What does this actually mean? And what are the threats of an unknown galaxy? Because what that kind of leads me to believe is that whatever events is going on in the sequel series, it could be a whole nother thing going on in their galaxy, which is even more exciting. So that's why I was intrigued by where we're going with galaxies in terms of this.
Star Wars isn't like Star Trek. Like, Star Wars is pretty much fantasy in space, kind of like like Warhammer in space type of thing. It's Warhammer's pretty mapped out. So Star Trek has their quadrants mapped out and your universe kind of mapped out. So when you get lost, when Voyager gets lost in space, they're like, oh, we can't get to them. We know where they're at. We can't get to them. And so you could, if you're a fan, you could be like, oh, I know what the Alpha Quadrant is. I know what the Delta Quadrant is. I know what the Beta. Like, I know what these quadrants are. Right. Star Wars isn't like that. Star Wars' regular universe is like 5 times our size, and even space travel isn't really. I mean, even in the original trilogy, space travel was kind of just like you get there, like.
Which is why a lot of these channels have been saying for years now that Star Wars is creatively bankrupt and whatnot. Star Wars is creatively bankrupt, and to an extent I can understand, just because again they made another empire in the First Order, and they made another rebellion with the Resistance. But what I'm liking now, and I'm for is that, like, okay, people are now being introduced into the Night Sisters, and people be like, whoa, it's not just the Jedi who can use the Force. There's these other beings that use a thing called literally magic.
And there's not just the Night Sisters. There's all sorts of cults and things like that. Jason went around and found, like, Jason Solo went around and he would go learn different techniques from different cults. It could be not even different cults. It could be just a village that, like, this is how we make our crops grow a little faster. He'd be like, oh.
Some people might be confused by what is being told to them in Ahsoka, and they're like, how people be like, I'm behind them one. I'm like, that's okay. Disney Plus has everything for you to watch in case you want to catch up. But this is as fresh as it's been for a while now. Not since the prequels has been this fresh to the general audience, to the people that are in Sam's camp.
And Star Wars isn't creatively bankrupt. You can tell lots of fascinating stories without the Jedi or the Sith in it, or witches or anything. You could there's so many things you could tell. What we've gotten though is we've gotten safe bets with investors' money, and when you have these big budgets, there's not like a lot of creativity that's going to. They're not going to go so far out the box to they're just going to try to sell. This is what sold before. We're going to sell it again. That's just what we see in Hollywood a lot of times, right? Mimicry, not innovation, in a lot of until somebody does it on a small budget. They're like, oh, we can replicate that and make it bigger. So maybe Star Wars had to have some challenges where people felt like there was no room to grow to let somebody throw some things in there. Like, we know about the witches, and if you played the games like Jedi Survivor and all that, you know about witches or anything. Like, there's so much different lore and things you can pull from. And so maybe TVs were needed to happen so you could pull that, because I guarantee you'll see Night Sisters on a big screen someday. You know, like, somebody's like, oh wait, they're pulling swords out. My problem is, my fear is, like, you're gonna have people who don't understand it, right? And the Night Sisters are powerful, but there's a reason why they didn't dominate the Jedi or the Sith. There's a reason why the Jedi are great at this, and the Sith are great at this, and the Night Sisters are great at this. They're not all the same. And I think that what Disney era Star Wars is lacking in is telling the philosophy. Throwing a push, like doing a force push doesn't make you a Jedi. There's a philosophy informing how your powers work. I like the guy that plays Ezra, adult Ezra. I like him a lot. I was kind of disappointed in his showing, though, when he was like, "I don't need the blaster, I have the Force." And then
people were yelling about that one.
Y'all got PTSD. That's what that is. Y'all got Last Jedi PTSD.
And there's no reason Sean Hottie should not be sparring with Ezra like that. And then, but if he could, fine. Maybe he didn't get his Cletus training. He's off in another world. Then take your lightsaber. But then it's like, all right, I don't use the lightsaber anymore. Very next episode, you build a lightsaber.
Well, what's weird is that in that episode, I didn't mind him going full monk, because he was going full kung fu monk, which I was like,
yeah, but you got to commit to that.
And what I found ironic was that 5 minutes later, after he said that, he just stole the stormtrooper's blaster and started shooting fools and, you know, doing whatnot, which I'm like, that's cool and all, but like, that's sort of contradictory to what you just said a few minutes ago.
Full John Wick on them fools, and I was like, exactly. You do it, Ezra. You do it.
And you take your lightsaber. This girl,
so that was the thing I was going to ask you guys. Like, do you classify Sabine, Ezra, and even Ahsoka as Jedi? Are they Jedi?
Jedi and Ezra, I do. I do.
I think Sabine, I still consider her a Padawan, but she's on the road to be a Jedi. It depends how much she's still gonna take from Ahsoka. Ahsoka, I consider her. It's so controversial.
The reason why I asked that question is because, again, I've not seen Rebels, so I don't know if he went through formal training or anything like that. But I don't know if I consider Ezra to be a Jedi. I don't consider Sabine to be a Jedi at all.
So from prequels and Clone Wars standards, Kanan, Sabine, Ezra, and Ahsoka are not technically Jedis. They didn't finish their trainings and whatnot. And even Baylan at one point calls them, they're bootleg Jedis and whatnot. But in my opinion, they represent the essence of what a Jedi should be.
No, I'm not.
Kanan got knighted. Kanan got knighted.
Yes, he did.
I'm not negating. I'm not negating any of that. But I'm saying that the reason why I asked y'all that question is because that would make sense to his approach to any kind of combat situation. Now it makes sense to approach to Sabine being a Mandalorian and approaching in the way she does, because none of them. Well, I'm not going because that might come from my whole life, but I don't look and perceive them to be Jedi. Now,
go ahead. No. So Ezra, you got to think Ezra was trained during the Empire era, and Ezra's like Aladdin. Ezra's Aladdin, right? So he's innovative. He uses, like, when he makes his first lightsaber, his lightsaber has a blaster in it to like shoot people, and they're like, all right, and they flip with a lightsaber because he thinks outside the box. But then when his skill gets up there, he realizes, I don't need a blaster anymore. I fear that either they're going to make Ahsoka Ezra's level of enforced powers where she shouldn't be, or I'd rather her just be if they say insist on giving her force powers, I'd rather just be a hybrid, but she can never get to the upper echelon levels. But like, they'll make her cool because she can do some things, but she still has to rely on her other technology. But this last episode, she was for her not to be able to do anything an episode ago. to like grabbing lightsabers and force pushing people up there, and it was a lot.
So
It was
it's
a lot.
weird because the whole entire season, though, she's been attempting and she's been trying to connect. She's been trying to connect, but she's also been, honestly, up until she got to Ezra, which she's been out of balance too. And for good or bad, like she made peace with what she did in her decision. I think the moment that she got with Ezra, now I think it was a terrible decision. I think she should have told him immediately, but it is what it is. But I do think she's not been in a place of balance to even really truly attempt. She's just been trying to make it work. Now
I think she's getting there.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I've gotten this whole entire season. So it's kind of like if she would have been like picking up like boulders and pushing it, I would have been like BS. But her picking up the lightsaber, I think she's been trying to connect.
It's almost like survivor guilt. Like you have to also take in consideration that she survived a war thanks to her friend, and she carried that guilt throughout, a greater part of her adult life, and not to mention that she lost her blood-related family. So now she's seeking something that is, her family, which I always thought that, they abandoned her. So the Ghost Crew is her family.
Yeah, but I mean, she's a genius Mandalorian Jedi now who made a super weapon that the Empire used to kill the Mandalorians. Like, it's a lot on her character, and it's just a lot. I feel like that was. I don't feel like that was a Dave Filoni thing. I feel like that was a decision thing.
Well, I'll say this: that she's not the first Mandalorian to be a Jedi. They've already made that clear.
Oh my God, we are not mentioning that character.
I'm not saying that, but because the original guy, the dark saber, but we already have Grogu being a Mandalorian Jedi hybrid.
Tar Vizsla.
Yeah, and that's the stale part to me, because Sabine's a cool character without the Force, like a cool character without the Force. But now you've made her a Force user. She's a Mandalorian. She's a super genius. She's an artist. There's. And I kind of appreciate that they were like, the problem people had with it was that with Rey was she didn't have any training. So we're gonna make sure she trains, but then now she's doing it. One thing I did appreciate though is that they did show her struggle to the point where like Ahsoka was like, Sabine, blasters. like appreciate it.
You said that often. You're like, play this game on me.
bless your heart, but pick up the blasters, give us a file. You'll get there. You'll
and
get there.
People might say people might say that it's coincidental or not, but again, the Force works in a mysterious way. But I think she has the benefit, and
that man said Force works in a mysterious way.
That's like a wizard did it. A wizard did it. No,
go ahead. Sorry, we were just playing.
What I'll say is that like she, for what she's been through and how she accesses the Force and all that stuff, she's in good hands to have Ahsoka, her mentor, and which is what I loved about the dynamic that Hayden brought to this series was that like Ahsoka finally found some peace with what he went through. I think there's still a little bit more to resolve, but now she sees that like, listen, this is tough. So and she's finally be like, damn, I must have been not baggage, but I must have been hard for Anakin to train me one out. But he was proud to train me, and she finally said that yeah, she has been will always be proud that Anakin was a mentor. Now she sees that like I have to be like that with Sabine, that she's gonna give me so much headache. But Sabine learned at one point, be like, listen, I have to stay together. And they follow through with who Yang asked them a while back, stay together. You're always stronger and better when both of you together.
Yeah, so I think that okay.
No, I was saying I love Yang, but also props to Caden Christensen. I'm really happy for that guy that he got the. I felt they didn't use him enough in Obi-Wan. They didn't use him correctly in Obi-Wan, but in this one, the War Between Worlds, and the boy still got the moves. I don't know if that was all him in the thing, but it felt like him. He still got the lightsaber moves. And also, I don't know. I'm not going to speak for you, Ronan, but for me and a lot of fans, Clone Wars Anakin made me like Anakin. like Clone Wars.
I've always liked him. I just feel that Clone Wars.
Like it's like I like this guy.
I liked that he was cool, but to me, Clone Wars made me feel bad for him with what happened to him. It made me feel bad for what he went through.
So I liked him in the World Between Worlds. Whether it is, I really like the idea that he made these training videos for Ahsoka, and we could see that. And I so hope we get a scene where she gave some of these to Luke. Like I so hope we see.
That's all I
that.
need. All I need enough is her to meet Luke and be like, they don't have to say nothing. Just her. I need that scene where she meets Luke and Leia for the first time because she's been referenced. Leia's been referenced twice or 3 times in this show. I just need them two to meet Ahsoka and Rex, and they don't have to say a word. She could just be like, I know those eyes. I know you two are the children of my friends. And she would realize that, like, okay, he actually did go back into the light side. That stuff wasn't just from the past.
So I'm fine if Hayden Christensen shows up as a Force ghost throughout Ahsoka. I don't want him to overuse him. Like I felt like the ending was. I don't know how I feel about it. Like I was good to see him, but like we just saw you twice, and it's kind of like you got to show up sparingly.
So that's why I was kind of going back with what you guys said about the daughter / the owl. It would make sense, and that's why I was asking about the Force ghost. Would it be like kind of an embodiment of the father? It'd be the father and the daughter kind of watching over her, and she kind of feeling a semblance of security. What was interesting to me is that Sabine seemed like, I don't know if she saw him or felt
something.
But it was just interesting because Ahsoka was looking in that direction the whole entire time, and then it was kind of like Sabine kind of noticed it, and she's like, it feels like. And I was interested to see what she was going to say, but then she kind of walked away, and then of course we kind of get it. So that was my take of it.
It's almost like what Jason went through when he heard the lightsabers when Ahsoka and Hayden were fighting. He didn't necessarily see them. He didn't know where they were, but she's like, I hear something that's in here. I can't see it. I don't know where it's at, but I hear it. It's not just water here.
And in the EU, there were Force users that weren't super powerful. They like barely made it, but you saw their limitations. Maybe they can't do telekinetics, but they can have foresight or something like that, or they're just really weak. I hope they go that route with Sabine because they'll make her an interesting character.
Yeah.
I don't need her to be on the same level as Ezra and Ahsoka. Like, no, be you, and maybe you can do a little something, but don't make her generic Force powerful number 5 or whatever. I think that one of the things that I love Sabine, Ezra, and Ahsoka going through the tower, like going up the levels.
That was metal as fuck.
Yeah, I wanted the lightsabers to do a little bit more damage to the stormtroopers, but I know it's Disney Plus, so I mean, there's only so much they can do.
I mean, what did people have an issue with this fight? Like, honestly,
I love it.
When I really feel like, and again, I'm talking about this from an impartial standpoint because I don't have anything or stake, but I feel like people just aren't satisfied. Period. I don't think that people can actually ever be satisfied from people like me that don't know anything. I don't have any stake in it. I feel like we enjoyed this a lot more.
Some people are spoiled because what they went through in this scene is not out of character. We've seen this multiple times before, but now they're older. Now they're more in sync. Back then, it was always like, okay, who's shooting and who's using the lightsabers? Which is why I love when Ahsoka said, okay, Sabine, you shoot, we play defense. And I love when Ezra was like, okay, I'm going to do my swirling thing, why not? I'm going to pull the Force. Ahsoka, finish it, why not?
Yeah, and they were blocking for each other. They were switching up between offense and defense. I thought it was well choreographed. There were some little issues, but you can find little issues in John Wick if you really want to look at it. There's not going to be perfect, and I think this is one of those things. This isn't a Kenobi. Yeah, and I know. I think Ronan, you really like Kenobi, right?
No.
I was the one that liked Kenobi.
As a whole, I didn't like Kenobi.
I was the one that liked Kenobi.
To me, that scene, that fighting, is way better than everything in Kenobi.
Yeah. This made sense. This was shot well. There's no overcoat with a little girl. Like everybody. I like everybody. Like I like everybody. I think this is a season 1. We got to also say so. These actors are still trying to find these characters. The kid that does Ezra. Oh, kid. The man that whatever he is. I don't know. How he got to play. Called Ezra. He embodied Ezra.
Swagger.
So that's what I was going to ask you guys. Do you guys think that? Because I don't know Ezra, but did he play the character well?
Oh yeah. The point when he's being held back by a zombie stormtrooper, and his friend, almost sister, is trying to get him away, and he's being like, "Careful, please be careful." That is That is right out of Rebels, dude.
Oh, when he
I
grabs
was
his
like,
head, he's like, "Oh, that was close." With
yeah,
Hati Yozgato.
that is.
Hey,
I
hey
mean,
guys, don't y'all want to take us prisoner or talk or something?
exactly. People even had an issue with that. I'm like, that's
Well,
him. And he's older now, but like, that's him. That's
that's
always
him.
gonna be him.
And like I said, my only issues with the whole lightsaber thing, it's something like an excuse to give Sabine a lightsaber during that thing. When you're the trained lightsaber duelist, you should probably give it back to her when y'all are safe. Because if someone didn't come, you guys are dead. But that final shot up the tower, I've heard people say like Thrawn could have closed all the blast doors of the tower, took them longer and things like that. I mean, there's zombie stormtroopers coming after you. I really love them bringing that sword that they brought, Mother Tenzin's sword.
No, that was lit. Literally.
A witch used that to attack Mace Windu at one point. Not knowing who Mace Windu is. And so it was cool to see that reference. That I forget. She's a trained martial artist.
She is the goddaughter of Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
She is martial arts worthy. She is like royalty right there. Like, I'll say this, Sam. The fight between Morgan Elsbeth and Ahsoka up in that tower from the beginning towards the end, that was like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Like
that jump was so well
like
done.
The camera, it was the one that I was more proud of because they didn't cut away that much initially. Right. They just stayed on them, just doing their swirl one out, just like perfect. I know what's happening and I see the movement.
And Rosario Dawson has been putting in work since Luke Cage and her
Daredevil
and all that, but her fighting and Iron Fist and all that, she's been putting in work. But she started in her 30s, and one of the things you can do, and maybe this is for me coming up in the Kung Fu era, you can have somebody really skilled as an opponent, and somebody and the hero actor maybe not be as skilled, but that villain makes you look better. You know, that fight other person in the fight makes you look better, and how it goes. So I was sad that Morgan was gone. I'm sure they'll bring her back or resurrect her somehow. Like she won't be her, but you know, Mother Talzin stayed around forever after she was dead. So there's a lot you can do there. Fighting wise, special effects, choreograph, a sequence like I have some issues with some of the logic they did, like how they were just lollygagging on the ship until they got attacked. It was like, oh, I guess we should go fight Thrawn. Letting something else be a counter to a lightsaber besides Beskar, which is becoming a little overused in my opinion. But bringing up and that was another thing from the EU is that the Sith didn't use lightsabers; they used enchanted and swords, and that would go against lightsabers. So there's a lot to like here. I even like how I haven't really felt stakes in this series until this episode. And what I mean by that, there was a clock, right? Because you had to get the Thrawn before he got away, or you're trapped here. So that was kind of like a thing. I knew Ahsoka wasn't going to die, but I like how they showed with enough stormtroopers and backup, she was screwed. Like she lost that lightsaber, one of her lightsabers. We know that she's more effective with two lightsabers than she is with one.
Yep.
Stood her ground.
I think the tactics, and we might all disagree. The tactics were some issue I had with it. Ezra saying I don't need a lightsaber, then immediately pick up a blaster, then immediately building a lightsaber. Didn't like, but I loved the conversation with Hu Yang about Kanan. Yes. What did you think about that, Sam? When they brought up Kanan, because you don't know who Kanan is.
Oh, bro.
Kanan is the person that was Hera's husband. Is that correct?
Baby daddy.
Our baby daddy. So this would surprise you guys. I did watch maybe the first few episodes. I was introduced when Kanan came in. But I've seen some random shots of Kanan that looks like his eyes are all jacked up. So I don't know enough about him, but it's intriguing to me.
Did Darth Maul take his eyes? Was that Darth Maul that took his eyes?
But more than anything, to answer your question, it just makes me more intrigued. It makes me intrigued to see kind of how Ezra was trained.
Do you watch Clone Wars and Rebels?
Yeah, we can talk about it. We should do a watch party, Sam, where you just watch some episodes. We stick here with you and we commentate.
I mean, we could have done this tonight. Yeah. So I'm at this point now. I'm sold on on all these characters.
Rebels was probably my favorite Disney era thing. But Star Wars was probably my favorite complete. I was satisfied through the whole
up until Mando and till the Jedi. It was my favorite thing as well.
And if I'm honest, I probably love Clone Wars more, but Rebels was a tighter show. There wasn't a lot of filler. Like Clone Wars, there's watch lists to go through Clone Wars, so you can skip some of the quote unquote funny episodes.
I went through the first season of Clone Wars and I stopped. I kid you not.
You should watch the last 3 episodes on Disney Plus of Clone Wars. Just the last 3 episodes, and you'll get the.
Well, anyway, my segue is so we can go ahead and close out because we've been, I think, an hour and 15 minutes in. Is that for me, Ahsoka brought intrigue to see what is to come, but it made me so much more appreciative of Rebels that I haven't even seen. Characters I don't even know, lore I never even thought about. And I told you about this. Like, I mean, we talked about this when looking at Mandalorian, and I was like, what the heck are these freaking whales in the sky? You know what I'm saying? And they go and expound on that in this. You know what I'm saying? So the lore and the exploration of things that you guys know that I've never been introduced to is just being presented to me. Whether you guys look at it for mediocre or it could be better, I'm looking at it for the eyes of somebody that's never seen it. So like, looking like it's a kid. And this makes me want to go back and absolutely, I have to watch Rebels. I have to go back and finish Clone Wars. So as a whole, as far as Ahsoka, whereas in the beginning I was a little worried. As a whole, I think that they did a good job with the first season. It makes me, I at the very least want to see more. I want to see a second season. I want to see what's going to happen with the galaxy. I want to see what Dave Filoni is going to have in store with his movie. Because in all honesty, if all these are happening around the same time, Mandalorian is happening around the same exact time, this could be a very interesting film. I meant that when I said it in my reaction. That like, Dave, what do you have building all this together, and where is it going towards? And when you start talking about like the Mortis gods and all these other kind of things, like I'm excited, dude. I can't even. I haven't been this excited about Star Wars in a while.
Can I ask a question? And this is to both, but mainly to Ronan because you know more of the history. But you too, Sam. What's something that you like? One thing you're looking way forward to, like you're excited that you might see, but also something that you hope they do better. Like so, something you hope they improve on, but also something you're just really excited to see.
What do I want to say? Okay, let's just say this. I'll put it to you this way, and I think you might get what I'm coming from, Ant. They keep referencing Princess Leia. 3PO, you know, Princess Leia sent me to cover for Hera. She vouched for her Hera. I'll put it to you this way. Since Mando season 2, since that finale where Luke popped up, I said to myself, anything is possible. And ever since, when I see these shows that mainly connect to this era of Star Wars, when a show would end, I would just listen to Alan Silvestri's score of Avengers, especially the main theme. I would just listen to it over and over again because I'm like, they could do this now for Star Wars. They could do this now for Star Wars with different eras coming together. And not everybody's going to shake hands. Not everybody's going to have five, but people can, there's going to be crossovers that I'm like, I couldn't even like imagine once I finished Rebels and Clone Wars. I was like, will they ever pull the trigger? Will they ever do that again? But the minute they said, you know, Heir the Empire and whatnot, I'm like, don't fuck with me. I was like, please don't mess with me. I'm like, it is too good of a thing to pass on and whatnot. And you asked, what's one thing that you hope they don't mess up and whatnot? I really, really love the angles they've taken with the politics of everything. Mandalorian politics, Hera and the New Republic politics, in Andor, the Imperial politics and the Rebellion politics. That's the one thing that I'm like, don't fuck that up. Because as intriguing as Ahsoka is, intriguing as Space Whales and Millennium Falcons and Ghosts and one of all cool ships, as intriguing as that is, to me, I live more now for the small moments. To me, one of my favorite moments in Ahsoka that didn't involve Ahsoka was the small talks Hera and Mon Mothma would have. You know, they would always be like, just cut the BS. I'm a friend. I'm talking to you as a friend, not a senator or a chancellor. Is this real or is this just you being emotional? So I live for that, and I hope they don't seclude that for just eye candy and special effects. I'm like, keep that because that is the meat. That is why I give a shit about these characters. And Yeah, man. I tell folks that Ahsoka does um Ahsoka does as best as a job as I could think for a general audience to catch up with these characters. But once you watch Clone Wars and Rebels and Tales of the Jedi and Bad Batch for Protein, the experience when you're gonna watch these shows again and the movie that's coming, it's gonna be 10 times better. It's gonna be 10 times
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, I agree. I
Yeah.
think I think that's good. I think that anything else is just nitpicking, and the show did a way better job than I enjoyed this more than I enjoyed Mandalorian season 3. I enjoyed it better than
Yes.
Obi-Wan. I mean, Kenobi. I
Yes.
enjoyed it. I did like Andor a lot,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, and just to answer Ant's question, for me, this is gonna sound really weird, but y'all remember when Batman season 3 came out, the animated series Batman, right? And they transitioned, and around that time, Superman was out, and it
mhm.
was like the next step is going to be Justice League, right? And Justice League came out. It's like, wow, this is freaking dope. Then we go to Justice League Unlimited, and it went beyond, right?
Some of the
Expansion.
best TV, some of
So
the best TV that
you
you still watch them now.
you have characters that you've known and loved for years foundationally, and then you're introducing a brand new scope of life. That is what I'm hoping and praying for with Star Wars. You got your Princess Leia's, you got your Luke Skywalker, you got the characters that we already know, and now you're introducing new characters, but brand new legacy lore. And that exploration is the most important thing for me, honestly. And that's a make or break for me, because at this point now, I've seen a lot of TV, I've seen a lot of shows, I've seen a lot of sci-fi, dude. And I do actually find myself loving Star Wars more and more because of what they're doing foundationally. They're building something. And if they kind of shorthand it, if they hold back, or they try to go codependent on stuff that we've done in the past without merging new ideas and new perspectives, that is the thing that I'm worried about. But that's the best analogy I can give, is I'm waiting for us to go to Star Wars Beyond. I swear, if Star Wars Disney, if you trademark that, you better pay me for it. You can't see my face right now, but if I see Star Wars Beyond come up in 5 years, I'm gonna be pissed. But no, that to me, honestly, is the biggest thing. And I feel like it's gonna happen. I feel like it almost has to happen. Good or
Yeah, I say
bad, directors good or bad, writing good or bad. I think it's got to go that route, because now my darn kids are about to be old enough to be looking at this.
yeah,
So
I agree, and I think that to me, give me one last deep face Luke with Hayden Christensen, and then recast Luke, recast Leia, bring the guy back that played
please,
Han Solo,
please,
and just
God.
give us we can adapt at this point. The only reason I know I'm being greedy, I say one last thing, give Mark Hamill one last thing with Hayden Christensen deep fake, and then transition. Give us the I know people said that the Winter Soldier guy could, and I think he could be a
Dude,
Sebastian
good
Stan.
it would be
yeah.
freaking dope, bruh.
Could be a good Luke Skywalker. I don't think the Solo guy from the movie. I don't think he did a bad job.
I don't
I think
either.
his movie suffered because of the Last Jedi, and then cast a nice, a very strong. You need you need Moxie to play Princess Leia. She's the strongest, most competent character from the original trilogy, and you need Moxie to pull that off.
Give
So
give it to Carrie Fisher's daughter, Billy Lord, who's been in Star Wars. I'm gonna give it to her. Like it'd be poetic, and I think she could pull it.
if she can pull it off,
Look,
that's great. But I think you need to focus on Balin, Ray Stevenson. He brought something to the character that he didn't say a lot. He did, but when he said it, it hit. Somebody said George Clooney should be his replacement. I was like, George Clooney can't do this role. He can't. Nothing against George Clooney. He doesn't have that. I don't know how to say it, but he doesn't have that thing. But yeah, I think you're totally on the ball, Sam. And then you could have conflicts where like maybe the Mandalorians don't want to join any side, and what's her name?
Bo,
Yeah, Bo-Katan. And then maybe Sabine got to go handle that. It's like I'm royalty too, B. There's a lot you can do there. Just don't mess up the layup, like not having Ezra use his lightsaber. Don't mess up the layup. just do it.
yeah. As far as the recast, and again, I got to be real careful, because somebody will come from my whole life because like, how dare you want to recast any of these characters? this or that. But dude, man, Sebastian Stan could easily.
He
He
has
could
the look.
easily. They just recast him, bro. Like I hate to say it like that, but it can. It's no problem.
Actually, they look a lot alike.
It's no problem. And I'm gonna show you another one. And she's not. Well, she's gonna get older. But Millie Bobby Brown, bro. Like,
Oh
honestly,
my god.
the girl could easily pass for Princess Leia without any problem at all. And I'm just waiting for it. Like, I don't know why Disney ain't throwing them Disney bucks at her, but they need to lock her in for a small little Leia series.
And Luke, Leia, and Han still outsell anything in the sequels. They outsell anything in the prequels. They are popular. This doesn't mean down in the sequels because they outsell the prequels too. Luke Skywalker is one of the few times Disney is Star Wars has trended positively, like over the last like 5 years. And you would kill it. It's low hanging fruit at this point. We would give you our money. We are.
It's not impossible. And people can't say it anymore. It is plausible that one day we might see the Ghost, the N1 Starfighter of Din Djarin, and we might see the Millennium Falcon in the same fucking frame. And they all have to do is just do this, and be like, all right, they already teamed up. They gotta do different things. Why not? That's all we need. All I need is just Zeb and Chewbacca to give each other a high five and be like, all right,
we need
go kick ass.
Zeb. We need some Zeb in Ahsoka season 2. If Zeb doesn't come to where Ezra is, you don't know who that Zeb is, Sam, but Zeb needs to be. I was missing him through this series, but we go. Sam is over here yawning. People, whenever Sam turns off his camera, he's already in bed. He's the one to show us that he got the little sleeping cap on. He got his footsies on.
Y'all look hilarious. You guys. It is actually 2:00, and I gotta be up in less than 4 hours for work. But yeah, I think we did the daggone thing. We gave good, bad, and hopeful. I think this is a really good balance. I appreciate you guys for going in. I think unanimously we want to see a season 2 of Ahsoka.
Fuck
I think that's the biggest takeaway that I got. And as
I was hurt, y'all said. I was hurt. I thought y'all did this without me. I was cussing Sam out on the.
Yeah, I was like, I ain't done it yet, man.
Like you were just gonna forget me, forget you, Sam. He said, "What you talking about?" I was like, yeah.
I need y'all to make it to Japan celebration with me in 2025. We need to do that.
I want to go to Japan. I want to go next year. We could probably do 2025.
Man, look, I need y'all to convince my wife of that. On that note, we're gonna go. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, subscribe, hit that bell button. May the force be with us all.
You want me to go to Japan?
Upgrades.